Well, thank you. It's really an honor to be here. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Missy, and Jordan. You know, this library is a great place, and there's a lot going on right now. Pretty exciting. So as Nikki said, I am a money coach. I wrote this book called Give, Save, Spend, How to Build Wealth and Change the World. And I have brought a few books that I will have at my class coming up. The Give, Save, Spend book is kind of our textbook, and then also I have a couple of mindset prosperity books, which is my first background. I was a mindset coach for 10 years, taught me how to make money in very alternative fields. I was a tantric dance teacher. I was a music therapist. I became a spiritual prosperity coach. So I was doing very alternative things, and the mindset methods taught me how to make money. And then I found when I became a single mom that mindset wasn't enough. I needed more practical methods as well. And so that's what I incorporated next, the last 7 years, and I'll share a little bit about my story with that. But I'm just honored and grateful that we're here for the new year. Oh my goodness, Happy New Year. And happy post 3 years of what the heck was that?
They still try to make us believe it's going on.
Yes. Welcome to the new abnormal of whatever we're doing. But I feel that there's a real chance to reset and renew in the new year. And obviously, especially now, post-lockdown, post-COVID, people are really reinventing themselves. So this is a wonderful time to take a look at your relationship with money and maybe craft something new for yourself. So I am a money coach, which I shared about. I founded the Conscious Living Fair in partnership with friends like RVML, who've been a part of the event. And it is going to happen again, if anyone knows about that event and likes it. It's a great holistic health fair, and it's going to happen again in April. And my colleague Lori Warfield is putting that on. So if you're interested, talk to me afterwards, and I'll hook you up with that. But let's get started. I'm going to talk for about, 45 minutes to an hour, and then we'll have questions. Should be pretty brief. This is the free talk that I've given probably 25 times over the last 7 years. But this is the first time I've done it live in 3 years. So I'm really honored. It's been online for 3 years. So thank you. This is much more fun than Zoom. And I'm grateful that my husband Steve is here. Thank you, honey. And he's my partner in all of this. I started as a single mom, but grateful to work with someone who also had the same goals in mind. So we're pretty lucky. Okay. So this is a little bit about some of the places that I've given talks. That was fun, that picture. I gave a talk at the Small Business Development Center in Medford about cash flow for small business owners. Okay, so here's why we're all here, right? Because we're not millionaires yet. And giving oodles away to help our community, right? So this is a very American problem with money, right? 70% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. 57% have less than $1,000 in savings. No budget or plan for our spending, and growing debt and lack of savings and investments. And this is really compounded, as you know, since the last 3 years have been so hard. Many of the small business owners in downtown Ashland have gone out of business. There's empty storefronts. People are really just starting to rebuild. I love what RVML is doing here. You've got such a vibrant community. You're leading the way around how we. I love that. There's so many great things happening here. So I'd love to just do a little popcorn share on what your money pain point is. Like, what's the thing that's really bothering you? Do you feel like you have a lack of savings, or do you have some consumer debt, or you just don't know where the money's going, or just feel free to just share a few things. Just pop and just shout out, what's the thing that brought you here? Steve, you want to share something to get everybody started?
Let me see. Well, when I first took the class, I was very ill, and I literally had like no money, and so
That's a good one, having no money.
yeah, having no money, and I had a tremendous amount of medical debt and stuff. So I was actually able to clear it all up within a few years.
Yeah, so no money and heavy debt load.
And I was ill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and illness that was preventing you from working.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are three big challenges, yeah, and very common. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm just getting out of college, and I don't know how much money I'm going to be making, and so it's hard to project, like, you know, what kind of apartment I can afford, or what kind of spending is actually viable for me.
Yeah, yeah. Great. I actually have a handout on the 4 walls I'd love to give you afterwards, which is about, you know, how to plan for your basic household expenses. And yeah, that's a great question. Of course, doing the research on what apartments actually cost, you might be shocked what they actually are versus what we sometimes think in our minds. So, and trying to project with an uncertain income, that's really hard. So, yeah, that's a great opportunity to get more clarity on what the expenses are going to be, and also be doing some research on your income side. And you're always going to evolve, right? Your budget is always going to change every month. It's like a fluid, organic thing. People think budgets are locked in, like you have to do it the same every month, and it's just not like that. It's really not. Anybody else have a money pain point? You know, yeah.
So I'm heading into retirement, more or less, and I've reduced my, income by, 2/3. So I'm 1/3 what it's been, which is on track a little early, but it's, what I want. But I really don't, I just don't really, I feel like I have the brain fog part when it comes to balancing what happens next, with retirement.
Okay, so it sounds like you'd like a little bit more clarity and structure
Yeah.
around your planning for retirement.
Sure would,
Yeah,
yeah.
excellent, awesome, love it. Yeah, why are we not taught this stuff? What the heck? Yeah, go.
I want to know, what are the companies that own, like Experian or whatever, the credit score people?
Uh-huh.
What are the larger companies that own those, and why are they like, why is that? Why are they telling you where you're at and where you live, even if you had like an old medical bill from way back? You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like, I want to know a little bit more deeper about those. There's like 4 of them or 3 of them or whatever. Those credit checking ones.
yeah.
But anyways, because I know now, there's actually crypto companies now where you lock in your crypto and they'll actually give you money for a loan for a house and stuff like that now. Plus, it's already
Interesting.
staked, so the actual APY is actually paying for itself for that whatever interest.
Well, this is a very
So
detailed
anyways,
question.
but-
Let's
Yeah.
revisit that later, but I hear you that you're wanting more clarity around the credit system.
Yeah, what, I mean,
Yeah.
I understand
Yeah.
a little
Is that
bit,
affecting
but-
you personally? Are you wanting to change or improve your credit score, or do no credit score, or?
First, I just want to know more about it, like what's
And
going
just
on
educate
with
yourself. Yeah. I will be honest with you, I'm not a credit expert, so I may or may not be able to answer those questions.
Oh, yeah.
I'm an expert in removing your own consumer debt, because it's not good debt. It just drags you down. Debt that's linked to an appreciating asset, like housing, is a little different, or a business. But I do have some tips for how you can maximize and up your credit score in order to
Sure.
get the appreciating assets that you want, right? Dave Ramsey, one of my mentors, says, just don't do credit. It's like an I love debt score.
Yeah.
But anyway, we can get it more into that later. Anybody else have any pain point? Yeah.
Do you have a card? I mean, do you do consulting? Because my situation's very complicated, and
I do.
wanna-
Yeah, I do
Okay.
private coaching. Take the flyer for my class. It has all my contact info on it.
Okay,
And then
one
you can-
question. A friend of mine, I was living in Hawaii before here,
Mm-hmm.
and she is investing in, how do you call it, hard assets? Like
Okay.
coins or whatever. Do you discuss that?
I discuss it briefly as part of all of the different types of investing. We won't get into detail about that tonight. We do unpack all the forms of investing in my class, and you kind of find the area that really resonates with you and your values and your risk tolerance. A lot of times hard assets work well for people who have low risk tolerance.
Well, I'm a little nervous about it because I don't know anything about it. And what happens, let's say, if the, like, one is relying on that, you can't go into a store and buy stuff with, so you're just holding on to it with the value going up, and then what do you do?
That sounds like another great question to circle back on, and I'm hearing some murmurings in the group. Maybe we've got some folks who have opinions on that. Let's talk about that and see what are people's opinions about hard assets.
Okay.
I do want to talk about the foundational pieces before we get to that, though. So let's get started on the presentation. Because a lot of times what happens for us is we want to go from 0 to 100 with money. We want to go from having 0 to investing in all kinds of things. But there are some foundational pieces that really help us to have stability. It's kind of like building base camp before you climb the mountain, right? And I never really believed in this. As a holistic person, I was always trying to do everything all at once. Like fund my business, pay off debt, invest, save money for my kids' college, all at once, and then nothing was getting done, right? So the great thing about this system is that it solves all these problems, and it's step by step, which helps holistic people. It's like a balancing thing for us alternative hippies, with our holistic mindset. And what I'm going to present to you tonight is not the mindset methods, because most Ashlanders have those. Most of you have spiritual practices, gurus, things that you're doing that are helping you with mindset. This is the practical stuff. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is debt. So as we've seen, most Americans don't have a lot of savings, and it's partly because we're deeply in debt. And I'm trying to remember what the figure was there. No, it doesn't have a figure on debt. I think the average per individual 3 years ago was $30,000 of consumer debt. I'm sure it's different now. I don't know what the number is now. But what I found as a working single mom, before I met this wonderful man, I was a single mom and I was in debt, and I found that even though I was making money in my small business, none of it was coming home because all of it was going out to debt payments. So this increased my risk. It made me like this donkey here. Poor thing, way down in the back and couldn't get forward, couldn't move forward, right? I had to get rid of the load to be able to, move forward with my life. And so I'm biased in this way, I must admit. Toni Stone was my spiritual mentor, and her books are here if you want to take a look at those mindset books. But Dave Ramsey was my practical mentor, and he is anti-debt. So that, full disclosure, that is a bias of this talk, is anti-consumer debt. If you are for consumer debt and you want to keep some of that in your life, it is your choice. But just know that's my bias based on the challenges I had with debt and the freedom I've had without it. So what is risk? I think we all saw what this was with COVID and lockdown, having exposure to danger, whether you felt the virus was a danger or just the danger of economic insecurity, which most people were experiencing the last 3 years. And the good news is it's possible to turn things around. Okay, so here's the plan. And this is directly from Dave Ramsey. He did not invent these steps, but he was really good at packaging them. These are steps of personal finance wisdom collected over the last 50 years. Pretty standard stuff that he found a way to put in order. Now steps 1, 2, and 3, these are the foundational steps done one at a time. This is your base camp. Then 4, 5, and 6 are done all at the same time. This is scaling the mountain. So, and these foundational steps are so important. This is mainly where most of my clients work, because even if they do have investments and assets, a lot of times they have a lot of messy debt to clean up, right? Yeah, go ahead.
Are you including student debt with debt?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, and that tends to be the most large and painful amount for a lot of people. I can't tell you how many people with a liberal arts degree and $100,000 in debt come into my class. It's like, yeah, it is very common. It's very common, yeah. And it's very possible to get rid of that and to build wealth. So I've helped a lot of people do that. And I've seen people find creative ways to deal with it too. So we can talk more about that. I like to present these steps as an ideal, and then you can customize them the way you want, however you want to do it in your life. But I did these steps one at a time, and it worked for me. So the first step is to have $1,000 in an emergency fund. And this is kind of like your buffer, your first buffer between you and debt, between you and risk. When I first built that up, actually, I'm going to talk more details about this with the different slides. I forgot. So I'll just whip through them, and then we can look at them one at a time. So have $1,000. Number 2, pay off all debt with the debt snowball. Number 3, have 3 to 6 months of expenses and savings. And so you do these one at a time, right? At this point, there's like a baby step 3B. Dave Ramsey recommends at this point, save a down payment for a home if you haven't purchased a home yet and you want to do that for yourself. And then this is all done at once. Investing, college funding if that's appropriate for you and your kids, pay off your home early if you want to do that, build wealth, and give. And I love this one. I love to talk about this one a lot because Steve and I, we give 10% of our income away, and we have done that I've done that for 17 years. You and I have done that for 10 years. So I recommend, don't wait till you're wealthy to give. You can start now. Even if you're right on baby step 1 and you have $0 in the bank, you can start by, you receive $100 in pay from whatever source. You can give $10 away, and you'll find that tithing and giving really generates even more income for you, and it builds confidence. Anybody have any questions about kind of the general picture of all this? We're going to break it down in a second. Okay, well let's just go to the first slide. Okay, pre-work, and this is the 4 walls that I mentioned earlier. For the gentleman who's right out of school. So oftentimes this is a good place to work if you're a student, if you're a single parent, if you're unemployed. You're just kind of restabilizing yourself from an unstable situation, and that is to get current, except on your credit cards. I found that focusing on the 4 walls, housing, food, transportation, and utilities, was incredibly grounding for me as a single mom. I got confused. I was current on my credit card bills, but not my electric bill. I was just so overwhelmed as a single parent and tired that it really helped me to remember, oh yeah, these are the basics. This is what I need to focus on, the 4 walls, and just wait on the credit cards if need be. My credit score was not great anyway at the time, so I was able to kind of deprioritize the credit cards until I had enough income to really start paying them off. And again, you may want to consider starting a tithing practice. And giving creates a sense of deservedness around money. That was true for me. I had a hard time receiving income. And when I first started my tantric dance business, and I found that tithing made me much more comfortable with being paid and being paid large sums of money. And tithing, tithing can be to any place that you find inspiring. Could be to a library, could be to a counselor, could be to a spiritual teacher, a friend, a coach. It doesn't always have to be to a church or synagogue or organized religion, like many people think. It can, if you're going to a place of worship, you probably want to be giving there. if it is inspiring to you. But there's lots of other places you can give. You can give to the food bank, you know, wherever has heart and meaning for you.
Kathy,
Yeah.
the thing that gets collapsed in there is tax or don't tax deductible. You know, like this
Oh,
idea,
yes.
like tithing, you know, is just giving without having it be tax deductible. And so what you're just saying is presencing is that, you know, just anything that's kind of out there that calls to your heart in terms of some kind of growth and development and community and all the different values that we might have. Could be considered
Absolutely.
tithing.
We're not able to write off most of our tithing because most of it is to small time people that are not nonprofits.
Yeah, that's a big relief for me because I take a lot. And
Yeah.
there's been a lot of kind of guilt around it because I've put it into my bookkeeping system as personal growth and development, which doesn't feel like it's giving it out. And yet,
Right.
what it's usually geared at is who am I being in giving things out.
Right, and I would earmark it as a tithing part of your budget.
That's so great.
Yeah, because
That's
you are circulating money for the greater good.
Yeah, that's good. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. And you'll receive benefits from that, even if you don't get the write-off. That's right. Yeah. All right, so that's the pre-work and just kind of stabilizing. And a lot of people are in this place post-COVID, right? You know, okay, what is my employment again? What am I doing? And then baby step one usually takes 1 month. That's my invitation to you is that if you do not have this, that you use the next month to get this. And this is a starter emergency fund for unexpected events, loss of a job, you know, things with your health and body, things with your car. I found when I first saved this $1,000, I had 3 things happen that were $300 each, but they were one at a time. So one happened and I paid the bill and then I replenished the emergency fund. Then another one happened and I paid the bill and I replenished it. So, you know, it took me a while to really get that $1,000 to stay. But it was incredible because it was I didn't have to get into more debt and I had this sense of ease and relaxation. Like, oh, it's handled. I have my emergency fund. And you can scale this back to 500 if you're low income. Like if you're just out of school, if you're a single parent, you know, just try saving $500. Just that amount that you're not going to touch is hugely gratifying. Any questions about baby step one? Yeah.
Where do you keep the emergency fund? Because I have some savings and then I also have an emergency fund. They're all lumped into the same account, so it's hard to say like, this is my emergency fund, this is my savings.
Yeah, I would create a separate savings at your bank or credit union. We have like 10 savings accounts because I like all these different buckets. It keeps me from spending them. My mom, you know, she's in her 80s and she's just an incredible saver. She has it all in the same account, but she has this spreadsheet of all the different things. So, you know, it's up to you what you feel good about, what feels good to you. But for me, having a separate account means I'm not going to spend it. Dave Ramsey says you can put it behind a picture frame and say, you know, in case of emergency, break glass or something. You know? So whatever it takes to keep it sort of slightly off limits for yourself, you know.
So earlier, in one of the earlier slides, you had a statistic like 70% of Americans or something are paycheck to paycheck.
Yep.
So how do you tell people, you know, to save $1,000 if, you know, 2/3 of the population?
We're going to talk about that. Yeah. So I'm going to lay out the plan to you, the 7 steps, and then I'll tell you how. Yeah. And the how is like how I did it as a working single mom, just kind of like making shit up and jerry-rigging things and all the crazy stuff I did. So I'll share that. Yeah, because it is hard. It's really hard, especially if, you know, people are getting back to real work again, or not. Maybe, you know, with the Great Resignation, so many people quit jobs and now they want to be self-employed, you know, and now so building businesses.
Butter costing $20 and like now, you know, it's like what?
Agreed.
I,
It's insane.
yeah.
Agreed. It's even harder now. Yeah, with the costs. I agree. Okay, so this is the ideal, and knowing that it's not easy, we'll talk about the how in a little bit. Baby step 2. Usually in my classes, folks take 1 to 2 years to do this. This is paying off all your credit cards and car loans and student loans. The debt snowball method is what Dave Ramsey recommends. It really worked for me because before that I was trying to pay off the high interest rate card first, which is a valid method. A lot of people do use that method. And if it works for you, great, but it didn't for me because I didn't feel like I was getting anywhere. Whereas with this method, you list your debts, excluding your house, in order, and the smallest balance is what you work on first. And then when you're done, then you can attack the next one on the list. And you get this sense of a win. Like, oh, I paid that small debt off. Yes. Now I can attack the next one. So it's kind of a, what's that psychology technique like where you get a win? It's like a behavior modification or behavior, what is that called? I don't know. It's a reward. You're giving yourself an energetic reward. So you see results, you have more money to throw on the next largest debt, and you stay motivated. So that's how it worked for me, and so I recommend this method if folks have had trouble paying off debt. You know, for the mathematicians in the group, you know, there's a few people always who are like, well, I want to pay off the highest interest rate card first because I want to, you know, get rid of the maximum interest rate first, and that's great. If that works for you, more power to you. Okay, baby step 3 generally takes 6 months. And the reason this only takes 6 months after the long slog of paying off debt is because the big amount of money that you were rolling on your debt snowball to pay off your largest and final debt, once you're done with that, then that money can just go into savings. And you can, you know, hammer this out, get a fully funded emergency fund together. It's recommended that you have 3 to 6 months of expenses in savings. You could be asking yourself right now, what would it take for me to live for 3 to 6 months if I lost my income? So that's, you know, for all your expenses. Yes?
So the 1 to 2 years for all debts, like if someone is in that position, like $100,000 liberal arts degree, they would
Might
try
take
to
longer.
pay off $100,000 including the interest before they would save a 3-month emergency fund?
This is what Dave Ramsey recommends as his very strict plan. Like I said, you can customize it how you want. You may want, if your plan to pay off debt is going to be a 5-year plan, you may want to save a larger emergency fund sooner. So that's up to you. But I would say this plan in its strict form works really well for people who have 50 grand or under in consumer debt. If you have more than that, then you may want to get this fund together quicker. I would.
I think I'm having trouble with like, so if I had an extra 3 to 6 months of expenses in 6 months' time, I don't think I'd be in debt. You know, like, and then $1,000 in the first month too. Like it kind of feels like not attainable. It feels like realistically, if you had that much extra money, you wouldn't already, you know what I mean? You'd already be paying off.
Are you saying we gotta give up our coffee at Starbucks and stuff like that? What are you saying? Where is this?
Okay, we'll get to the how really quick. I know. We gotta get to that. And this is really interesting to hear this from you. You know, this feeling of feeling a little discouraged and like it's unreal, because I think this is the post-COVID reality.
Yeah.
You know, we've got the super high expenses. People are not making as much money as they were. Not that it's not possible, but people are being more choosy about the kind of work that they're doing. So I do think it's harder now than when I was giving this presentation 3 years ago.
And
So-
things are costing more.
Totally.
Exactly.
So much
Exactly.
more,
yeah.
But it is possible to make progress on this. Don't take the 1 year, 1 to 2 years, 6 months as gospel. This is just a suggestion. And again, I wrote this presentation 3 years ago, so we can stretch it. Okay, we can have some grace. But think of it in terms of, hey, it would be nice at some point to have a fully funded emergency fund. How would you feel if you had $5,000 to $10,000 just sitting there as a buffer?
I'll just go to Hawaii, but that's me.
And travel may be a priority for you. I mean, I for me as a single mom, I saved $6,000. I was living very frugally. I was living in a 2-bedroom apartment. I was sharing the master with my children in order to save money. I rented out the 2nd bedroom. And so for me, my expenses, my bare bones expenses were like $1,000 a month. So for me, $6,000 was 6 months of expenses and savings, and it made me feel a lot more secure.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I was able to do other things that were important to me, right? But having that as a non-touchable emergency fund actually meant that I had fewer emergencies, which is weird because as a holistic, affirmation-minded person for years, I thought that if I had an emergency fund, it would cause emergencies for years. That's why I was superstitious about it. I refused to have an emergency fund because I thought it would draw emergencies into my life, but it did the opposite.
It's kind of like Murphy's Law.
Yeah.
When you don't have it, it's happening.
Yeah.
Right.
It's almost like a fly to
Yeah.
poop.
Yeah.
So when you have it, it's almost like now the universe works differently that way.
And you don't need it.
And you don't need it. But if you do need it, you have it, and you're not stressed out about it.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. That's the
Oh.
value of this.
That's-
Yeah.
Right, you're not worried about your car breaking down.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly,
right.
because you know you can handle it.
Yeah.
Okay, so next question.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So you're sitting at your desk, you're doing your budget on your computer, or you have a notebook or something, right?
Uh-huh.
So you specifically have the discipline to write down, no, this amount is gonna go into this money market account for the emergency.
Uh-huh.
Is that what you do?
You can.
What did you do?
I allocated it through my Every Dollar program, which was
What's that?
my budget software that I use. And there's lots of, we'll talk about the different types.
Oh, okay.
There's lots of ways to do it. But that was what was fun for me because it's color-coded and cute. I'll share more about that. For artistic people, not QuickBooks, which to me is just my brain just goes, I can't handle
Right.
the detail. But some people love QuickBooks.
But it
it's
costs
like-
money. You really should talk it not.
It's
Right.
yeah, and
It's free.
Mint is free. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So although it has credit card ads, so there's lots of options on that.
Oh, no, just like paper and pen.
Oh,
you
I
know?
see.
Okay. So we're gonna just go through the rest of the steps, and then we'll talk about the how because I know that's really important.
All right.
So baby step 4. So once you've done baby steps 1, 2, and 3, which are one at a time, right? You've built your foundation. Then 4, 5, 6, and 7. It's recommended that you do these all at once. And or concurrently because they're going to take some time. This is like further wealth building. This is like what you're going to do for the next 20, 30, 40 years of your life. Dave Ramsey recommends you invest 15% of your income for retirement, and that's because if you invest 15% over 20 years, the average interest income off of that amount in either the stock market or real estate or businesses is going to bring you the amount of money that will enable you to maintain your current lifestyle after 20 years. If you have less than 20 years, which we do, Steve's in his 70s, we decided to go another route with our investing, and I'll share a little bit more about that. We invest much more than 15%. You can invest in mutual funds that line up with your values. I have a great person I recommend, Catherine Greenspan, who does socially responsible investing. She's fantastic, and she can help you find companies that you believe in. You can invest in rental real estate or businesses that have cash flow. That's what Steve and I do. We have some rental real estate, and we are working on affordable housing projects. And get help from someone you trust. It's really important to find someone who has the heart of a teacher, not the heart of a salesperson. There's a lot of investment advisors out there they just want to sell you and get your commission. But I really like working with people who talk things through with me and really just want me to understand more than they want to get the sale.
Is the Roth, is that post-tax where you've already paid?
It is post-tax so that you don't pay tax on the growth.
Because I've got the other kind and I've got all this money in my portfolio. But
Okay.
if I want to take any out, I have to pay tax on it.
Yes, you do, I know.
And then I also have to be disciplined with the RMD to try to put it back.
Yeah,
So they kind of get you that way.
it's true, and it's true, and if you've already built your nest egg with that way, you might not, want to invest in Roths because it might not be worth it to you to pay all
Right.
that tax. Yeah, it's hard, I know, my mom's in that situation where she's having to take her minimum distribution and she just has to pay that chunk of tax every year.
Yeah.
It's, yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. What was your name?
Lori.
Lori. Okay, so Lori was bringing up the difference between the Roth IRA and the regular IRA is helpful to know, and that's something, if you ever want Catherine Greenspan's information, I can give you that. She can explain that in more detail, but basically the Roth IRA is a group of mutual funds where you pay tax on the money you put in right up front, but then say your $200,000 you put in over the course of your lifetime grows to $1 million. It grew $800,000. You're not going to pay tax on the $800,000, just the $200,000 that you put in. Whereas a regular IRA, you don't pay any tax on the $200,000 you put in, but then you pay tax on the whole $800,000 that it grew. But you pay tax on the on the amount that you draw out upon retirement age. You don't have to pay tax on the whole thing all at once. But it's still a little bit of more of a hit.
And tell me
In
if I'm
taxes.
wrong, but most of these 401ks when you're working a job will be the one where you don't pay tax. for.
That's right. They'll be
And
they want to
kinda
get you
sell it to
later.
that- Yeah, they'll tell
Yeah.
you that you'll be in a better position to pay the tax later, but they don't.
No.
Most people do not realize what they're getting into.
It's really unfortunate. Yeah, I thank you. You're making me feel empowered to keep giving these talks because people need to know.
That's an important one to know.
It is. It really is. Okay, so that's baby step 4 is investing, and it's exciting. I mean, Steve and I found it was so great. Once we were out of debt with this emergency fund, our cash just started making more cash. And yes, we had money to go to Hawaii. You'll find you have a lot more money when you don't have debt. So baby step 5 is if it's important to you, you can be paying cash for your kids' education. We've decided to cash flow our kids' education rather than save up for it, but there are some 529 plans and ESAs in the state of Oregon which allow you to save money for college tax-free if that's important to you. I don't recommend student loans. I mean, if you already have them, I understand, but I'm actually going to have a conversation with a friend's 18-year-old daughter who's about to go to college. She wants to take on Boku student loans, and we're going to have a conversation about her options because there are a lot of other ways to get an education debt-free without that big burden, especially for a liberal arts degree, which, as we all know, is not super lucrative, even though it's mind and spirit expanding. I got a women's studies degree, which I'm very grateful for. But yeah, I'm glad I didn't go into debt for it. All right, baby step 6 is to pay off your home early. And the cool thing about this is how much wealthier can you become if you don't have a mortgage? Pretty great. It's a pretty great thing to do. I would say in this area it's harder to do because of the inflated house prices. Not impossible, but harder. And it reduces risk during downturns like the 2008 recession. Baby step 7 is unlimited, right? This is your chance once you're, out of debt, you've got retirement funds, kids' college handled, you can really start to look up at what kind of big philanthropic giving do I want to do. We all want to be like Jordan, right? He's our hero. Jordan Peace, who created this library, is an incredible philanthropist. Because he's at a point in his life where he's been blessed this way, and he's able to really give back big. And so how might you want to do something big for your communities? This is an opportunity. Anybody have any ideas? Oh, and pay for your whole family to go to Disneyland or Hawaii or Bali or whatever. Take a cruise. What are the fun things and the charitable things you would want to do if you had $1 million?
Or if you're relatives are living paycheck to paycheck, would you want to help them?
Oh, that's a great thing. Yes,
Yeah.
right, to help out relatives.
Because
Beautiful.
if you were in that situation before, you know what it's like.
Right. Yeah, beautiful. I love that. Yeah, anybody else have any thoughts on what you'd like to do in terms of giving back or having fun with having a good nest egg?
I can think of lots of things.
Good.
I mean, like, who wouldn't want to do all this awesome stuff? Drive a Ferrari at a racetrack, you know?
Nice.
Or, like, pay for a friend to take a year off of work and do what they love.
Nice. I love that. I love that. Both those ideas. Yeah, sponsoring a friend and driving a car around a racetrack. Man, that sounds incredible.
I think I'd start a school and teach kids about wealth management.
Amen, sister. You and me both. Let's work together. That sounds really great. My thought, you know, when I first asked this question of folks, you know, when I first started doing these presentations, my thing was I wanted to start a foundation for single parents. But now I think I want to start a foundation for everybody because we all need this. Yeah. Cool, fun. So yeah, so those are the baby steps in their basic form. Again, this is Dave Ramsey's system. I did it. The results we've gained are we have upped our net worth by $400,000 in 7 years.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
And I think people should know that you lost your home in the fires.
Thank you. And through this, we lost our home in the fires. But because we had an emergency fund and savings and investments, and we had renovated our home, we'd upped the insurance because of the newly renovated value. We got a decent insurance payout, and we were able to buy a new home. So, yes, it was a blessing. And yeah, so even through challenges, we've been grateful that things have worked out. And I must admit, it has helped having a partner, no doubt about it. I've been privileged to have a joint income, you know, have two incomes. It is slower when you're working with one person's income, but not impossible. I made about $50,000 in results by myself when I was a single mom before I married Steve. And then since then, we've been working together. So how the heck do you do this? I appreciate you guys being the reality check here for us. So, just a little testimonial. A couple that worked with me had a good experience. Okay, so now these are my tips for how the heck do you do this. So the first thing that I recommend is you act your wage. And this is where you get to like take
your wage.
Take out the scissor and cut all the costs that are unnecessary, right?
Yeah.
And you might, there are a lot of things we all pay for that we just really don't need, right? All the subscriptions to all the things. You need every single streaming service in the world, you know? The thing for me was I had to let go of keeping up with the Joneses. I was already a money coach, and I was embarrassed that I didn't have my act together. And so I was always spending money trying to look good. You know, trying to please people and have my home and my lifestyle appear more opulent than it actually was. So I really had to just stop that, just knock it off, and be willing to not look good for a while. I lived in an apartment, as I said, a 2-bedroom apartment, and when we moved in, it was $835 a month. It's now like $1,300 in those apartments. But I just decided, okay, I gotta save money. I'm gonna rent out that 2nd bedroom. And my kids lived in the bedroom with me, the master. They had a bunk bed and I had my queen bed. And somehow we all fit in there. I don't know how we did it, but we did. And we did that for 5 years. And we rented out that 2nd bedroom for $500. And that was what helped build our down payment for the mobile home that Steve and I bought together when we got married. So, you know, looking for sales, shopping at the discount stores first. Ashland hippies hate me for this because I'm always recommending go to grocery outlet.
Yeah.
Go to grocery outlet. You go to Food for Less, or, you know, because it's not fun to drive to Medford and go there first, and they really don't have everything. They have certain things, and you have to go back to the co-op and supplement. It's a pain in the butt. But it gets you the best deal. And doing that, meal planning, oh my gosh, meal planning saved me. That enabled me to, have my food budget be like $500 a month. And that was, with 2 kids. And I had some food stamps too. If you run a small business, this is another tricky thing. Do we have any entrepreneurs here? Yeah? Cool. So your business expenses can get out of hand. Like that could eat up all your money. So where could you cut the fat out of that? Like where in your business can you reduce costs? I used to, when I taught tantric dance, I would rent the Wellsprings, or I would rent the Hidden Springs, and I would rent these big locations. I would get catering, but I wasn't making any money at the end of the day. So I downscaled and I decided, okay, I'm gonna teach out of my home. I'm going to save money, and somehow I still had clients. I was grateful that people still wanted to work with me, and with classes and coaching. And so the 70-30 rule is a general rule of thumb. It's not always possible, but that's Mike Michalowicz's system. He wrote the book Profit First. Great book for entrepreneurs, and he recommends if you're noticing like you're not bringing any money home, start inching towards having more take-home pay, less expenses, with 70% take-home pay being the ideal, 30% operating expenses being the ideal. Yeah.
Yeah, 70% is really, really almost impossible.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, but
if you're 50-50, we'll call it good.
50-50 is fantastic. That's kind of where I'm at. I have my own business. I've had businesses in the past, storefronts, warehouses, and I never took home money. Now I have one van, and I keep everything in my van. And when I get work, I go in and just take my van to the place where I'm going. So it can be done, if you're a little bit creative.
Yeah, and I think the letting go of keeping up with the Joneses is a big lesson with this, and just inching your profit up a little bit higher. If you notice, 90% of my self-employment income is going to expenses, and 10% is coming home, you just know things are out of balance. You got to shift it a little bit. So acting your wage. Second thing that I recommend you do is be willing to work. Now, this is tricky now because everyone has the entitlement mentality. We're all a lot more picky since COVID. So I would say that when I wrote this 3 years ago, or when I first started giving these presentations 7 years ago, it was more about the entitlement mentality that I saw among single parents. So that's different from what people are experiencing now. I want to make that distinction. So if you notice yourself just in a victim place in your life where you're just really feeling put upon and the world owes me and I'm mad and it's all their fault, that's an opportunity to shift some things for yourself so that you're able to work and be productive and make money. Now what we have is a lot of people have justifiable reasons not to work in situations where they're being exploited. And so, of course, I support you in having boundaries with that situation. A lot of restaurant workers, for example, have quit because they feel they were being abused and mistreated. So people are setting higher standards for themselves, and I think that's good. But there's also the situation of if you don't have any money, you just need to work. You need to do something. When you're self-employed, it can be really helpful to take on a side hustle. So when I was regrowing my coaching business in my new town, because I moved here from Williams, all my old clients had disappeared. So it happens when you get divorced, all the friends of one person go with them and all the friends with the other person go with them. So I found I had to start from scratch, and I didn't have that many clients. It was really tough to make money. So I went to, there used to be this houseware store in Medford called Pier 1 Imports. And I loved it because I wanted it. I just thought the decorating was so much fun. So I started working there. It was only like $500 a month. But that $500 a month stabilized my whole reality. That was regular money I could count on. And it meant that when I went to go do networking for my business, my clients weren't like smelling the desperation on me. They could tell I was in a settled, stable place, and they were, much more happy to enroll with me. So I highly recommend a side hustle. Do the extra networking you need. People are out and about now. Everyone's like getting back to normal. So, you can be out in the community. Join the Ashland Chamber of Commerce. There's a lot of fun things you can do networking wise. Doing reach out and calls. I'm excited. I used to be a music therapist in nursing homes for 15 years. That and music and dance has kind of been my passion. So I'm actually going to do some calls next week to go and do some music gigs with my son, who's 17, and he performed at your holiday party, the holiday party here at RVML, and he's going to do some gigs with me in the retirement homes. I'm excited about that. So, so look for creative ways outside of work to make money. I sold so much stuff around my house. I was always looking around my house going, what can I sell? What can I sell? What can I sell? Oh, yes, Facebook Marketplace. Boom, we're doing it. $100 here, $50 there. Regular garage sales. Apply for grants. So this is huge. I spent about a year after the fire working for a fire recovery nonprofit. There are so many grants for fire victims, you would not believe it. And there's a really fabulous grant that I got, that Steve got, that's still available. It's called the Dream Savers Grant. You don't have to be a fire victim. It's for anybody. It is administered through Access. You do have to call and call and call and call to get on the waiting list. It's a bit of a pain in the butt to get on the waiting list, but once you do, it's a matching funds grant program that can be used for building a small business, buying a home, or going back to school. And it's, let's see, you put in $3,000 of your own money and they give you $9,000. So it's well worth doing.
I have to tell you, it was a lifesaver for me because like I said, I was ill. I had a long-term illness. I thought I was out of here. And then when I ended up coming out of it, I had like no money.
Yeah.
I applied for that thing, and every month I put whatever they wanted me to put into this one bank account. When I hit $3,000, they gave me $9,000 more. So I had $12,000 to start.
How long did that take?
I think it was 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
Right?
that's
Was it 2
their
years?
longest program is 2 years. They do a 6 month, a 1 year, and a 2 year.
I think it was a year, a couple, maybe a year, 2 years. But you know what? I was able to buy a van with that money. And it set myself up, and it got me actually making money right away.
Yeah.
Very
So-
cool.
So it's highly recommended, and you do have to be fairly low asset. I believe you have to have less than $20,000 in assets in order to qualify for the program. Look for giveaways and freebies. Oh my gosh, everybody's part of the Buy Nothing groups, right? you know about those groups on Facebook. There's all kinds of freebies out there. So look, and that's one thing that I would do every month when I first started getting out of debt. Every month I would say, where's the extra money going to come from this month? I'm going to look for a couple $100s. Just that thought of training my mind to look for more money, I would always find it. It's really fun. It's like a game. And then when we do this in my class too, we do this sheet called Making Margin, and we fill out these ideas of how we can make more or spend less. Okay, and create a monthly budget. This is like wah wah wah. It's everybody's least favorite thing to do, but I found it really fun after a while. So this is the little color wheel that's on the EveryDollar, everydollar.com website, and that's the software that I use. I really like it because it's simple and color-coded for artistic people. If you're more linear and logical, you might like to create your own spreadsheet in Excel. You might like Mint. Mint is free. You might like QuickBooks. The cash flow planning form or paper budget is what we start with in my class because it's kind of fun just to write everything down. And you can sit with your buddy and talk about what you've got going on, and it's right there. But eventually most everybody gets software. You can have it on your phone. It's really easy. Give every dollar an assignment each month. You do this in the beginning of the month. You look at, okay, what do I think I'm going to spend on food? What do I think I'm going to spend on insurance? What do I think I'm going to spend on going out to eat? And then as you have transactions, they'll come into your software, and you just click and drag them into the category so that you have a real-time picture of what you've spent. And then you can see which categories are out of balance. Now this is really amazing. When you start doing a budget, guess which categories are way overspent for most people? Anybody have any idea?
Eating out.
Eating
Yeah.
out.
Yes, food is like huge. Eating organic, and especially now, oh my gosh. Our food budget is through the roof, we're shocked. It's outrageous, yeah. And anybody have any idea what's the second biggest overspending category? It takes up a huge amount of people's budget.
Entertainment.
The car.
Entertainment.
Car?
No, it's not.
Keep
Consumer
going.
products?
What's that?
Consumer products?
Consumer products? Yeah.
Housing?
Housing. Yeah, that's it. People are spending 50%
Yeah.
of their income on housing in Ashland.
Yeah.
You know, I'm on the Ashland Housing Commission, you know, we just did the study. Most renters in Ashland are cost burdened, meaning they're spending way more than the recommended 33% of their income on housing. It's pretty bad. And, you know, not everybody can do a house hack like we did. I mean, we've always done a house hack, right? Okay, both of us, we lived in these apartments. He lived right next door to me. We both rented out rooms, right? So we did a house hack there. Then we moved into a mobile home. That was another house hack because it's kind of, you know, low income housing. And now we live in a duplex and we rent out the basement apartment, so that's another house hack. So not everybody can do that, but you can be thinking, you know, having that question in your mind, if your housing is higher than 33% of your income, or if your food expenditure is higher than $1,000 a month, really be wondering, okay, what can I be doing? And just see what the universe sends you in terms of answers. Just asking the question can really bring a lot of percolating of energy. And budgeting is empowering. I just want to leave you with that because I know budgeting can feel, so for some people it can feel like bread and water, right? That's the way it always felt to me before I started doing software. Any questions about that one?
Can I just say something about budgeting? Like I said, I've never done a budget in my life. And I've been doing it consistently for the last 3 years. I had a friend, she helped me set up a spreadsheet. And I don't stick to it perfect at all, but it just kind of gives me a baseline. And I always know how much money I need minimal to come in each month, how much is gonna go out each month. And then within that, I play with it some, but I still use a lot of these basic ideas. You know, like I said, I'm still paying off my debt, but it's coming soon, and it is empowering. It really is, especially if you've never kind of really managed your money very well, like a hippie, good hippie.
Yeah, that's right. It's free flowing, baby.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nikki. I really love what you said, that you have a baseline, but you play with it. Yeah, that's beautiful. All right, join a class or get coaching. You know, that's another way to get support. New habits, it takes time to learn a new habit, right? All the studies say that it takes 90 days. Oh, 12 weeks, okay, yeah. 12 weeks, 90 days, that is 12 weeks. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Good. Yeah, we're on the same page.
Yeah.
So, you know, that can be helpful if you're drawn to that. I love to give a shout out to Maria Chun. So she is one of my students who upped her net worth by $65,000. This was actually 3 years ago. She's more like 100 grand now.
Wow.
And she's a single mom. So she did great. And she's now teaching. She has a really fun printable on Facebook. So if you friend me on Facebook, I'll invite you to my Wealthypreneur group and share her printable. I have a little post about it. It's a sheet that you can print out, and she's got these little dollar signs, and you check off. I think it's for saving $1 a day or something like that. So you check it off, you know, each day that you save $1, and it's a fun little game. And
Is your Facebook page Kathy Galley?
yes, yeah. I am teaching my financial fitness class where we break all this down in even more detail. This is a fun group because it really gets you results. Like Nikki said, this was the class she took a few years back. I've taught it off and on for 7 years. We have an average turnaround during the 3 months of $5,000. That means each household saves or pays off debt $5,000 in 3 months. And we do a net worth check in the beginning and a net worth check at the end. And so, and we don't reveal anyone's numbers. We just do a group average to find out our household average of how much wealthier we became in 3 months. It's pretty fun. And that's in my living room. Yeah, I'm excited to teach it in my living room. It's cozy and fun in the winter. Yeah, so the good news is you can be financially fit this new year. And my prayer for you is that you get to Hawaii, you get to have good meals on a budget, you get to enjoy yourself this year, and give back.
Fabulous.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.